Although many books have been written about the Dalai Lama and Tibet, I did not come across anything that encapsulates his life in the context of his exile from his homeland since 1959, and tries to put it in the immediate context, both geopolitical as well as cultural, and I might add even political. And I have attempted to do that, and hopefully it will bring the uninitiated reader within a striking distance, as it were, of understanding what this complex standoff really represents. As the title of the book suggests, I look at the persona of the Dalai Lama from three vantage points of man, monk, and mystique. I must add here that the title Man, Monk, Mystique was rattling about in my mind at least 2 years before I eventually met him in McLeodganj, which is up north in Himachal Pradesh in India. There are very few people who manage to live any one of these three attributes with a degree of success. So it's remarkable that here is a man who balances these often contradictory or even competing roles with such consummate ease. And as far as I can see, he has been successful at all three quite remarkably. And that was one of the main features that certainly attracted me to the subject. This is a question of fundamental importance. The idea that the Dalai Lama might have grown far beyond the cause of Tibet is certainly something that I have concerned myself with, and it is of great consequence to the dispute at hand. It's true that in 2007, which is about 18 years after he won the Nobel Peace Prize, the Dalai Lama is seen worldwide as not just somebody who represents the cause of Tibet, but someone who has grown far beyond that. So in some sense, it could work against the cause of Tibet, but at the same time, I see his predicament and his dilemma. He has to continuously project him as the symbol of the Tibetan cause in order to keep it alive in the consciousness of the international community. At the same time, he has to, in order to keep alive this unique culture that he represents, he has to push it personally all the way through. Even as he remains optimistic about the future of Tibet, he also remains equally pragmatic and practical about what is ahead. He realizes that there are enormous challenges while dealing with an adversary, if I may use that expression, of the scale of China. In my conversations, he has indicated that in his lifetime he is hopeful that he'll get to visit or perhaps even go back to Tibet. Although at this stage I personally find it hard to believe because of the circumstances that prevail in Tibet and in China. But then you never know. Nobody could predict the disintegration of the Soviet Union even a month before it happened. So this is not to suggest that China will disintegrate, but apparently the yearning for democracy within China is far greater than a lot of us tend to realize. At least that's the argument that the Dalai Lama has advanced to me during my many conversations. So in that sense, he remains very optimistic about the future of Tibet. My personal take on Tibet is not that important, and that's not something that I try to project through this book, but for whatever it's worth, I think the unyielding and intransigent position that China has taken on the question makes it difficult for the two parties to come to a reasonable negotiating position. But at the same time, there have been several rounds of talks, and if you consider the fact that China, which is perhaps the fastest rising economy or nation in recent history, still feels compelled to talk to a single individual of the Dalai Lama, tells me that perhaps they also see some merit in resolving the issue in some fashion, because it is an outstanding issue even in their consciousness. They realize that although Tibetans are in no position to force any hand within the Chinese leadership, they also recognize that they are better off resolving Tibet than not resolving it. And by resolution, I mean that probably not to the satisfaction of the Tibetan community in exile, but the Dalai Lama has very consciously, very studiedly, very judiciously scaled down a lot of his demands, and the most important being his change of stance from demanding complete independence to autonomy within China, and that's a significant step down. Although it has not played very well with the young Tibetans. They also understand that the adversary that they are up against is not something that they can take on sitting a few thousand miles away in a mountainous place in India, and with just 150,000 people on their side, which is the number of Tibetans in India or outside Tibet, I'm sorry. The Tibetan issue is being largely sidelined, especially since 2001, the September 11 attacks on the US. The war on terror has completely upstaged anything else as far as the US is concerned, and the rapprochement between China and India has also played a significant role in Tibet getting pushed to the sideline. I think we must not underestimate the consequence that the Dalai Lama can bring about by the sheer force of his personality. I'm not sure if at this stage we can think in terms of a dramatic resolution of the problem, but you can never tell in a situation of this nature. As I was mentioning the Soviet Union earlier, China's internal fractures or internal dissensions or internal tensions could be much more serious than what the world has come to recognize. And perhaps there is some hope in the fact that a lot of young Chinese have begun to see merit in what the Dalai Lama stands for in terms of non-violence, in terms of compassion, and things of that nature. Thank you.